This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're at the infamous Art District of Santa Fe Drive in Denver, Colorado. I am here with the Schuessler Studios. Since 1996, this art group has produced critically acclaimed artwork, recognized both locally and nationwide. I'm here with the founder, artist. Michael, thanks for joining us here today. You began in 1996 professionally, but it was many years before that. Passion-driven, not only in the art of canvas, but really in the art of healing. Share with me a little bit how this came to be.
I started out in the Kabbalah, which is a healing, spiritual connection, the esoteric Kabbalah, which encompasses the tarot, healing with sound and color. There is some motivational work and healing work that we do. That inspires me. That's what guides me. It opens you up to intuition. And through that intuition, I start creating the artwork. When I do commission work for people, I'll look at them, they'll show me a color scheme, they'll show me what feelings they want, and I will focus in on their image and their energy, and I'll end up doing a couple canvases, and I usually nail it pretty well on the spirit of what they really want.
That is fantastic. I mean, artists throughout the centuries, they have used their mediums to really reflect life, not only in the theater, music. Your art basically captures the spirit of life. Why was the canvas a good fit for you?
I started out doing wall murals, which doing wall murals now, it's a big medium, and you can't sell them. You can't take them with you. I like the canvas because it's such a great medium. Pastels, starting with acrylics. Acrylics takes a lot of medium, a lot of the paint, and to do it large scale, you're using tubes and tubes and tubes, and it dries pretty quickly. This medium here dries really quickly, but the way I apply it to the canvas, it allows me a lot more space. And that's spiritually too. I don't have time to think about what I'm doing. I work on movement, color, and spirit, and that's it. And then afterwards, when it dries, I build them from the frame out, thinking of the frame as the bones, thinking as the canvas as the skin, and then the color as the spirit, infusing the work with spirit. When it dries, I've got like a 10 to 12 minute window when I'm applying the color. And then I've got to wait for it to totally dry, and then I apply another layer. Each of these have got probably 6, 8, 10 layers on them. Wow. Yet you can still see the texture. And I'm touching it. These are chalk pastel on canvas. Amazing. Chalk is the only medium that if you look at it under a microscope, it's like the facets of a diamond. So under a microscope, like a diamond ring has all those facets and shine, reflects color. Chalk pastels do the same. So when you're looking at my work, if the light changes and the area you're looking at where the light's coming from, it's going to change the pigments. It's going to change the feeling and the spirit of the work.
I mean, would you say that not only your work captures the spirit of life, but is the work itself almost giving back to life, almost healing properties for those who are able to gaze upon it?
I would say so. I've had people react pretty emotionally to the work. I've had a few clients in the past look at the work and actually weep, which put me back a little bit. It's not an emotion I would expect from someone, especially, doing the work so much and being a commercial artist as far as marketing myself. It's very humbling to feel that. So I think it really, some of my work I put more form in, and you can actually see images come out. Some of it I leave a lot more subtle. Sure. And I allow spirit to guide me as far as that goes. It's funny, when I catch peripheral views, I'll be looking at a canvas after I've applied quite a few layers, and I'll just catch an image just for a second. And that's spirit talking to me. And then I'll start putting that image in. And then I'll back off. And so spirit really guides me. And I think with the training I've done all my life through the Kabbalah, it allows that color sense and that spirit to come back out. And like I say, you know, I've had ladies weep over it, which...
Speaking of the training you've had in the past, very extensive training, how is symbolism really at the core pretty much of your art as well?
It's very subtle. I keep it really subtle. I'm working, some of my work, I'll bring symbols out. I've got some work that actually were published on books, Kabbalistic books, the Cube of Space. And I've got Hebrew letters, and which is the name of God from the Cube of Space, but not to get too deep into that. When God sealed the sides, he used a different permutation of his name on each side, the above, below, north, east, south, and west, and then man was created in the center. And we as humans are always trying to get back to the center. So sometimes I'll get pretty literal, but I like to keep it more subtle, so it's not so blatant, you know. So it appeals to all different classes and creeds and faiths.
I mean, it seems that science has taught us how color affects each one of us. I mean, as I look at the wall up here, share with me how sounding color is really used in a lot of your artwork to kind of affect folks.
Well, the sound I use when I'm creating, and when I do shows, I'll put different. It's funny because a lot of people assume I'm listening to classical music because that's the energy contemporary work puts out. Sure. And I do sometimes. I listen to a lot of actually Led Zeppelin, which you wouldn't get out of the work, but you know, I allow the music and the vibration of the music to loosen me up spiritually. And then when I'm working flat, and I'm doing circular motions. That's how and you can see throughout the work, it's got that circular flow. When I do that, that allows that sound to come through me, and the color, different colors make you feel different things. Blues are very healing. They're a pain reliever. Reds are energizing colors. Yellows are in the middle. Why do a lot of these teals? It's probably because it heals me more than anything when I'm doing it. And then that is a reflection that goes out to other people.
I mean, we live in a physical world. The canvas is physical, yet it is spirit that links us all together. Does a person have to be spiritual to be affected by your work, would you say? No. I think the color and the movement affects everyone. If they're lending themselves, they feel it. A lot of people think it's very ethereal. And that's a great word for it. But some of my work gets real contemporary, which is more of a contemporary turn, which I'm not sure. It's different than ethereal. And then some of my stuff will get landscapey. This piece over here, it's a cloudscape, and you can see mountains in it. So people who aren't that spiritual will pick out mountains or people or images like that, and then other people will just feel that energy and just talk about the energy and the movement of it. What's fascinating is that unlike science, I mean, art affects each one of us so differently. We can look at one piece of art and yet multiple people will bring back something. Is it fascinating for you? You mentioned humbling earlier, but is it fascinating for you to have somebody sit and watch and then kind of hear what their vision was?
I like to do that because if I point out an image, then they see the image and they can't get it out of their head. Just like certain words. Sure. If you speak it, it brings that image crystal clear. And my work's so subtle that, and I like to keep it that way. There are other pieces I do. There's one over on the other side, and it's got a bunch of nudes in it. It's called Ties of Intimacy, and there's one nude into another nude into another, and it's pretty obvious. I've had people, certain clients buy work from me, some of my more fantasy-oriented work, where I have unicorns and that type of thing in them, and point out images that they saw that I never saw. And once I saw it, there's one piece in particular I remember. It was called The Lady. And it was the size of one of these here. I had a little lady on a rock in the middle, just, you could see her. He pointed out to me, he said, yeah, the lady, she's so beautiful. And he went over the whole canvas. And I'd never seen her in the whole canvas. I'd only seen the one I put in. And so my mind was locked on the more fantasy aspect and bringing the images out so people could actually see them and not have to search for them. And he saw the image on the whole piece. There's a painting over here called Daydreams, and there's a lady through it, and that's what he pointed out to me.
That's got to be neat for you to experience something like that when people see something in your art. I mean, you yourself were an apprentice, really to a very rare, unique process. We're talking about using chalk, raw canvas, also almost bonding with acrylic. Share with us a little bit more about that process without giving away the secret to it.
Nancy Hannum, she taught me. It was about 35 years ago. I was under a strict apprenticeship with her for probably 5 or 6 years. I did her underpaintings, so I did her skies. I would just do these type of areas. Nothing very intense, because she would do grasses and oil pastels and pencils over the top of them. She swore me to secrecy. She never taught anyone else. She passed probably 5 years ago now. And she swore me to secrecy until that point. I feel now that I could probably start teaching it because no one else does it. I mean, to have chalk stay on a canvas and not come off the canvas and not come off on your hands. All in all, it's really durable. If you were to spray water on this and get a watermark, if you catch it before it dries, you can soak the whole canvas and it'll dry evenly and you won't lose any color.
Wow, that's amazing.
If you don't, it'll stain it and it's ruined. So, I mean, the medium itself, it allows the chalk, it allows the spirit of the pigments to come out really well. It allows the movement and me not to get mentally involved in it. So I'm just spiritually involved in it while I'm creating it.
I mean, although this is two-dimensional canvas, yet when you combine the viewer with the artist, is there almost a three-dimension, almost like a sculptor, if you will, from your art as well?
Yeah, I try to keep as much depth of color through the work so you feel that depth of color. Some of them end up a little flatter than others, but depending on the lighting. Lighting is so key, and it goes back to that, the facets of the diamond, collecting that light. A lot of people feel that the light, when I first started showing 20, 30 years ago, people would look behind the canvases to see where the light was. And I still get that effect, although my work's evolved to the point where there's more images and shapes in it. So, but it's still there. I focus on that light. And if I can get someone, just one person during a show to try to look behind it, or if I catch someone, I've done what I needed to do.
That is very cool. I mean, you normally don't take a piece of artwork and really over-explain it or really make it rigid for the viewer. You instead let the viewer's own creative imagination decide what that artwork is for them. Is that something that has really almost driven you to create more?
Yeah. I mean, if I over-explain it, they see things. I had a gallery in the Florida Keys for quite a few years, and I was doing quite well down there until he retired, which he shouldn't have. But he would let his clients take the work home. And it was an older crowd, probably 20 years my senior. And every once in a while, they would see images that didn't quite fit. But it would take them a while. Once they saw the images, it was like, oh no, that's a little bit naughtier than I'd like, because a lot of my work's real sensual. With my with the background I have in the healing arts, I also do other work as far as people and the more sensual arts, as far as helping people heal that way. And so a lot of my work has sensual forms in it, and sometimes when you've got a more conservative person, I would say it that way, when the image finally shows up, whether it was meant to be there or not, they can't get it out of their head. So I have to change the work for them. Or
as a conservative, I would have to say, though, we're sensual as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that is really amazing. I mean, you've chosen the art district here. We caught you at a busy week, which is really, this is one of the first times you're coming out showing some of your work. You've got a few shows lined up here. Has this area of Denver, is that kind of a special place to you?
I used to have a gallery on Larimer Street, and that's when CBS Channel 4 voted me one of the top 5 studios in Denver. It was on Larimer Street, and I really enjoyed it. Then the antiques moved in, and arts and antiques just don't really mix. Now Santa Fe here has become an art district. We rented this space just for a month or two to see how we do. I have a studio at home, and I prefer to be there. When I had the gallery and the studio down on Larimer Street, it became too much of a business trying to make the bills, because it's high rent.
Absolutely.
It's very high rent, and my work sells well, but I do very well for a Colorado artist, for someone here in Colorado.
But you felt it conflicted with the art producing that you did.
It took away the creative side.
Which makes sense, because a financial spreadsheet does not reek of spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely
so
not at all.
Going back home into a home studio, I can allow the spirit to come out. And then when I do these shows, and then I do art festivals, Beverly Hills, Telluride, places like that. And those seem to go real well. I was really leery about doing that in the beginning, because I didn't know how the work would hold up in the wind and in the rain and in a tent. And we just had a show in Telluride, and it hailed and snowed on us for 2 days, which I was able to apply the water on the canvas, because I had water coming down on them. There was so much that the tent was condensing. Wow. And the water was pouring down, and it worked. It was great. I didn't ruin anything. But it's not something I enjoy.
The process has been proven recently. Yes. Quite amazing. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is our website. First of all, on the website, you're going to learn more about the process that, quite honestly, was a apprenticed. Very rare, one of a kind here in Colorado. And basically, you can take a look at the different artwork right there. Many artists collaborating together, all under one roof there as well. Check out the reviews, check out what people have to say, the art lovers out there, but also many critically acclaimed have said some great work about this local artist here in Colorado. Very interesting. Let me ask you this, as far as this being rewarding for you, when you see people, I mean, obviously you produce this at home, you're able to do what you need to do, yet I imagine the other half of that for you is just watching the people enjoy your work, be it looking behind, looking for some light, or somebody just gazing, or like you said even earlier, even weeping when they look at an art piece. Is this rewarding for you, knowing that possibly the art itself is a healing component in a world that needs some healing?
Oh yeah, for sure. Did a show up in Loveland here a couple months ago, and I was getting some food, and my wife was watching the tent, and I was walking up, and a gentleman who saw me down on Larimer Street, probably 8-10 years ago, was talking. He goes, "I know this guy. This is Michael Schuessler." I'd recognize his work anywhere, and that was so rewarding that someone remembered me from when I had my studio down on Larimer Street and could pick it out just like that.
Interesting.
You know, that made me feel really good. The healing aspect, if I can make people escape, get out of their head just for a little bit. And my work, the more you look at it, the more you find the depth of field, the color will change, and the spirit will change. So that allows people to stop just for a moment, and get out of their head. And I think that's really rewarding.
Enabling the viewer to leave their immediate world has got to be something that not everybody can do. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. Once again, you're going to see their contact information. Take a look at the Facebook page. They keep you apprised of what upcoming shows they have. We're talking about shows from Vail to Beverly Hills. This is work that is being pretty much shared across the nation. This is a group of artists that are represented here in the studio. Today, we have focused primarily on Michael's work, something that is very unique. Not only, I can tell you one thing, the longer that you gaze at the work, the more you're going to experience it. And so come on down, take a look at the work, and you're going to see this is it's a culmination of someone who basically relies on spirit, not on form. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.